So here is RITT. It had the morning spike, which was good to buy if you were early, which I was, and sell into the spike. It didn't spike as much as I wanted, but I'll take it. I tried dip buying in here. It was a little too soon, but anywhere buying in the 130s or the 120s, and you make money because by the end of the day, it's in the 150s. Tomorrow, it'll probably retest this high of the 170s. This is a small $20 million company. It is so tiny. It's one of the tiniest companies traded on the NASDAQ, and that leads to spikes. This was the last grade spike, and you can see it had one green day of volume, and then the next day of volume, and it traded, in excess of 8 million shares. There's only a million shares out there. So for the day, it traded, what was it, 3.2 million shares. So it traded roughly triple the amount of shares that it could, and that means that there's going to be some buyers because some people are not just flipping through their shares, they're actually holding because now you have this little $18 million company that's working with a $30 billion company in India, which is a huge market. And most importantly, there was a quote from the $30 billion company in this little company's press release. So it's not like some BS PR. The two companies actually are working together. So let me just go over quickly how I found it. I'm getting a ton of questions from you guys, and you don't really seem to understand. This is why I created my How to Make Millions DVD. It is 34 hours. We are uploading the final 10 hours right now, but people are loving it. And if you go to howtomakemillions.com and you click Buy Now, in the next few days only, you save 70%. I've extended the sale a few times just so that you can capture it while I was, really working on it. Now it is done. $297 for 34 hours worth of instructional content. I know that sounds crazy. Most DVDs that are out there are 1, 2, 4, 6, 8 hours. I was just like, screw it. I'm going to tell you guys everything because I don't want to answer these questions every single day. And sadly, not enough of you guys are watching it, and that's why you don't know how I found RITT. I go over every single step of my research process, the current websites. I know it's changed a little bit over the years, but this is a very simple play to find. This was the biggest percent winner in the markets. It's not on NASDAQ, this E-Trade screen. This is why I don't like E-Trade because it doesn't have, sometimes it's like NASDAQ small cap, or sometimes it's a weird stock like RITT, which misses the filters. But if you go to Yahoo Finance, which should be your homepage, it's my homepage, and you go to market data on the left-hand side. Let me just show you. And you click on percent gainers. It still doesn't show up. This is part of the problem with using free websites. I think it shows up on Stocks to Trade, but I found it early this morning on E-Trade. I don't know what happened with the data. A lot of these penny stocks is just weird. People don't follow these $1 or $2 stocks. But you can see the other big percent gainers are up 24, 48, 54%, while RITT is up, here at 152, 153 after hours, which is nice. It's up 54% on the day, which at 148. So it's really up closer to 60% after hours. So this is the biggest percent winner in the entire U.S. stock market. And that's how I find it. I look for big percent winners every single day, and I will try and short them if I think they're up for the wrong reasons. And I'll try and buy them if I think that they have more legs. And given the little $18 million company doing a deal with, this ridiculous big company, and the fact that RITT has spiked a lot in the past, it's very important not just to buy a small company, that could do nothing. But if you look over the past 5 years, this had a huge run up here. It had a huge run up here. Spike, 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 spike. And it's kind of been on the downtrend, so I'm not saying that it's definitely going to go, back to 10 or anything anytime soon, but it does have a history of spiking, and this is all in the past few years. So if you remember which stocks spike, and when it gets up in volume, you see, look at this spike, the volume got up to like 3 million. This spike, the volume got up to 3 million. This spike didn't even need 3 million. This one didn't get there. This one did. This one did. This one went way up. Now we're over 3 million again. So look for these volume spikes. Look for the percent gainers. It's no different than me finding SMSI, which was a percent gainer, and I found that through, while I was traveling back from Bali, and I was in the Hong Kong airport. It was like the lounge, and I spotted SMSI. It was like 10 p.m. Hong Kong time, and I spotted SMSI right at the open, and it too spiked from the 140s up to the 170s. So you just got to be prepared right at the open and pre-market. Look for big percent gainers, and when they have contracts or earnings, and they have a history of really spiking in the past, you buy quick, and you can get a 10, 20, 30, 40 cent a share spike on stocks trading around $1, and you sell into the spike, and it's beautiful, and then you can dip buy it later if you want, which RIITT's day low was what was it? It was down to the 120s, but I should say, it's tough to buy this right at the bottom, although I did in my long-term newsletter. That was actually a tremendous buy. I have a short-term newsletter and long-term newsletters. Short-term, I was going for the short-term spike, but then when it came down 50 cents a share off its highs, I started thinking, wait a minute, this company has potential long-term, so I bought some here long-term, and that turned out to be the bottom of the day. That was probably my best trade. I wish I had done short-term too, but even if you bought it on this dip here at 127 or this dip at 132, and I rebought here in the 130s, you can see the higher lows, okay? And you see slightly higher highs. So the high here was 143, then you have kind of this double top 143, and then it breaks out to 144, and it's not just one-time thing. Sometimes I say, you have these fake out breakouts where, yes, it might go to 144, but then it goes right back down. You can see here it was hanging around 143, 144 for, what is this? This was 2:17 p.m. This is 2:30 p.m. So for 15 minutes, it's hanging around the highs. That's usually a good sign, even though it came down and then it broke out to 148 and came back down. When I issue a buy alert, a lot of people think, oh, Tim, you just issue the buy alert and everyone buys. You have to remember, I have a lot of haters and a lot of people who think that I'm full of BS. So just as many, if not more people like to bet against me, as I noticed, and I say good luck to them. You can trade however you want. I don't want anybody following my alerts, but you're in control of you. I can't help it. Just know that whenever I issue a trade alert, there's a lot of people who are like, Sykes is so full of crap, I'm just going to bet against him. I have no problem with that. I say good luck. At my annual Vegas conference, this one guy was trying to squeeze me on my short, so I was shorting a stock, and he purposely bought because he knew that I was short, and he knows that I'm going to cut losses quickly. I did cut losses quickly if you guys attended my conference or see the conference DVD. And sure enough, he got out because he had successfully squeezed me. I got right back in, and I turned out to be dead on right, and I made more on the follow-up trade than I did by cutting my losses. So I have no problem cutting losses or being wrong. A lot of non-transparent traders think that they can beat me. There's no way to beat me. If I lose money, it's a good video lesson. If I make money, it's a good video lesson. I show everything. That's the beauty of transparency. And a lot of people don't get it. Sadly, there's a lot of millionaire traders who trade these kinds of stocks, and they think, oh, I'm not going to show my trades. You just want to use them and advertise. No, I want the game to be more transparent. You don't have to claim me as your teacher. If somebody else is your teacher, you tag them on Profitly. If you don't want to use Profitly, I'm sure there's other websites out there too that probably don't really focus so much on the dollar game. They're more interested in beating the S&P 500 by 2 or 5%, some bullshit like that. But for me, whether you trade my strategy or think I'm full of crap, I think the patterns speak for themselves. And, this is going up after hours very nicely, and I expect it to spike tomorrow into the 160s, maybe 170s. And if it can break this level tomorrow, then you have a 2-day breakout, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the 180s or even the 190s. I don't know if that's going to happen. That's kind of a stretch, but I'm in the 130s. So whether I sell in the 140s, 150s, 160s, 170s, 180s, I'm good to go. This is a successful buy pattern straight out of my How to Make Millions DVD, straight out of every other DVD where I buy contract winners. This stock has a low float of like 1 million shares, so it's very actively traded, And I don't know what the short sellers are thinking. I wouldn't be surprised to see this go over 2 if the company issues another press release, if they're smart about it. Um, that's a stretch, but I would not short a $20 million company that's up 50, 60% on the day. And now you can see it's going up, after hours too. It closed, I think, at 148, 149, and it's up a few cents a share after hours. I say good luck to you, you short sellers. I can't help but laugh when people try and go against patterns that have worked for me for 15 years. I'm not just making these patterns up. I actually made millions before I got started teaching. But you can do whatever you want. Congrats to anybody who bought. Whether you bought and sold into the morning spike or you dip bought. Even my long-term newsletter subscribers, they're up nearly 30 cents a share now. In just an afternoon. So everybody is very happy about this except the short sellers. And you shorts, be on your guard tomorrow. It might just spike and then crash, and the shorts are going to be like, I told you so. It's going to crash eventually. But you don't know how big that spike is going to be. You don't know if the spike is necessarily going to fail or not. I would not be shorting this pattern, and that is why I am long overnight in my short-term account and in my long-term account. I'm sorry we're having video problems. I'll upload this to YouTube just to make sure that you guys get this, because this is a kind of a time-sensitive video. Thank you guys. Have a good day.